Hi, welcome to Starbucks. What can you get for you today?
Good morning. Can I just do like a grande pumpkin cream cold brew?
Of course. Anything else?
No, thank you.
All right, we'll see you up front for $5.69.
Okay. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Finally, as you can see, we have this stinky little beat back here up on the lift. And also back there, we got my good buddy Corey, who also does fabrication work out here. If you're wondering why there's two fabricators in the same building, it's because I am a little on the slow side, and everybody needs a helping hand every now and again. Everybody has their specialties. Mine lately has been turbo systems, exhaust systems, stainless work like that. And this boy does a butt ton of tube work, and that's exactly what we need him here for. So he has a tube chassis 240 that he built entirely himself. If you want to give him a follow on Instagram, it's Corey.240. And so I am essentially contracting him to help me on this job. So if you guys remember me mentioning in the background a while ago when we first got this thing into the shop, I told you that we're trying to fit this D16 in it. Back there, that's not the exact engine going in it, that's our mock-up engine. And I already test fit it, and that's when I realized it's not going to be as easy as just bolting it in. So objective is to make engine mounts for it, brackets, whatever you want to call them, and then we have to make a rear tubular subframe, which is exactly what this boy is here for. So we are going to get this thing knocked out. I don't know how much of this I'm going to give a step-by-step, narration of. I may just set the camera up and maybe even voiceover later, give you guys updates as we go along, because both of us are kind of just diving into this with no really good knowledge. So we got to drop the subframe because we're going to try and make these engine mounts first, and then we can build the subframe around the engine. And I think that's pretty much what we decided. So yeah, stay tuned, and we'll get cracking on this thing. So to get started, the subframe is it's kind of different than what I'm used to seeing on a normal Honda. It's interesting, and we'll get this thing up, and I'll kind of show it to you. I'll explain it to you a little bit. You guys can see it's got the same general design. You've got your lower control arm here. I believe this is supposed to be kind of like a tow arm, but I forget because they're not eccentric, I don't believe. So I'm not entirely sure how you would go about aligning this stuff. And then this is essentially going to be your trailing arm. And then obviously your knuckle here, your shock mount there. So the knuckle itself, the hub, looks pretty similar to what you would normally see, almost like in the front of the car on a normal Honda. I mean, I think this one still has the same style up front, but yeah. So it's a very basic setup. And essentially all we got to do, because when I test fit it, the issue was the webbing of the transmission. That back corner there next to the mount was contacting this whole area. Now essentially, could you probably trim this all out and maybe box it in or something? Yeah, but that's not exactly the most efficient. That's not how the owner of the car wants, because this is going to be a show car, and that's not the proper way to do it. Now, there is forum posts of a guy fitting like an L15 in here. I've seen how he made his rear subframe. He used 1 inch by like 4 inch square stock tubing, the thin stuff, and that's not at all what we intend to use. So we are going to be super legit, boys. And we got some 1.5 inch 120 wall DOM. So this thing is going to be able to basically get plowed into by a truck, and the rear end should never bend out of place. So mainly all we're gonna need is to just make some custom control arms. So that's not too hard. You can just use rod, and then you can use Heim joints on the end, essentially giving you a solid suspension like you've seen before on like drift cars, or if you do spherical bushings, it's the same exact thing. And then just integrate some sort of rear mount. Maybe, I mean, ideally, yes. So normally the factory mounts hang somewhere on the top of the frame rail here. They are all just brackets. You can see this engine mount here. Pretty simple setup. So all we got to do, make it fit. Gas tank already out of the way. And again, we're just here to make all the things fit, and then the car will not be with us anymore. It's going to be going to get other stuff done, wiring, paint, body, yada, yada, yada. And then eventually, I'm told it'll be back to me for all the turbo stuff. So you guys will probably get to see it run at that point at some point in time. But for now, let's just get this thing, well, I guess that thing, into that thing. All right, so it's literally been like 15 minutes. Got the subframe dropped out. It was super easy. All we had to do was disconnect the strut with those, disconnect the brake caliper, 17 mil there, 2 17 mils here and here, here and here, and then we just lowered it down onto the cart. So yeah, we're good now. We're gonna kind of roll this thick boy under and see what we can make fit. Yusuf popped by the 8.6 owner that you guys seen in the last video. And these boys, none of them knew that you had to bleed jacks when you first buy them, because he just bought a new jack.
Absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, and sure enough, they're like, oh no, that don't exist. And then he opens it up, And sure enough, it's not even full
All
on
the
oil.
Harbor Freight jacks that I've ever had, all at this moment, I realize why they've
Gotta
been
check 'em all
shit
now,
in
fam.
there.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Fancy
I'm
too,
not
huh?
I'm not as dumb as I portray myself to be. I got some knowledge here and there. What you know. So yeah, we're pretty much cleared up. I zip tied the brake calipers up higher because you know they were sagging pretty well. My bungee cords are stretched, just like your mom's cheeks. This is not nearly as easy as it was thought out to be. So I've been digging through the forums. We have been trying to move this engine around, and technically this is, without cutting stuff up, this is the best positioning we're gonna get. So let me kind of flip you around really quick. So mind you, there's a few of these cars that have B series running there. So this string right here is center of the hub roughly. So you can see we're a few inches off for the axle for centering point, but that was just more of a relative point. You're allowed, I think it's 15, 20 degrees for axles to be safe. But issue is we're hitting right there. We're about to, I should say. And then more importantly, the freaking oil pan is very low. So you can kind of get an idea. I'll have to measure that really quick with a tape measure, but very, very low. And alternator's almost not hitting. Oh, look who's calling me. Okay, so now I just got off the phone with Brian. You can keep talking. Do your thing. I got the mic facing me. You all right? But yeah, I just got off the phone with Brian, and he noticed that the engine mounts in the photos on the forum actually show that this guy mounted them beneath the frame rail itself. So his motor actually hangs lower than I thought, because in the photos it's hard to tell. He doesn't show any good photo angles. It's more up high photos like this, so you can't see just how low the guy is hanging with the B series, but obviously we're low here. So realistically, now a new idea, potentially just waiting on a response from Sean, the owner, is perhaps I can pull this up just slightly higher, and then we can lean the alternator back, make a new bracket for the alternator so we can get a different belt on there so it's out of the way more. And then we can bring this side up just a little bit. We can hammer the frame rail just a little bit without having to cut things, mind you. That's the only other option. So we're going to try and figure it out, and I'll update you guys as I can figure this out, because the dude's forum post is descriptive in all the wrong ways. That's the best way I can explain it.
All right, we're good.
Doing that OSHA approved safety squint.
Yeah, no doubt, dude. No doubt. I was just gonna ask.
Essentially, we took some more measurements, and the engine is only the oil pan, as it sat before we just dented that, was only sitting 3/8 of an inch below the rear part of the subframe. There's like a skid thing, jack point. So we're actually looking better than we thought. So Sean said he's cool with that. Owner said he's cool with that. So I did just have to ask him if we could clearance that a little bit using the purse, because we had a clearance for this guy right here, this little edge of the casing. So now we're going to test fit again, and if it's long, oh, I'm sorry, that was supposed to get us up a little bit higher because the alternator had like a good 3/4 inch before it hit the other frame rail. So the extra 1/2 inch would put us, whatever 3/8 minus a 1/2 is, I don't know, I'm retarded. So 1/8 inch, appreciate you. But yeah, we should be good now. So we're going to test fit again, and if it is good, kosher, then we can start building some engine brackets. So we're de-studding this thing.
Oh, no, need some more.
Yeah, a little bit more.
The nylon's freaking. There it is. Should be.
Yeah, hopefully. There we go.
It is. There it goes. Oh, that's gonna be fun to take out.
Alright, so we got this thing stuffed back into here. He's just working on getting the top alternator bolt out so we can try and let the alternator hang a little bit. But we're looking pretty good. I mean, I think we sucked it up that last little bit. We can, with the alternator leaned back a little bit more, we can get this to go up like another 3/4 or 1/2 inch, and then we should be really cooking with some good peanut oil in.
Yes! And then you got in on the reaction, bro. It worked perfect.
right, so what you got on this side, guy?
We got the passenger side, being that this is right-hand drive. We got the passenger side bracket looking flawless. Not super rough, but we're gonna show you guys what we're working with. Picks up from the power steering bracket holes, and then will actually become the new engine mount bracket holes. And that will serve as our passenger side engine mount.
And I'm working on the driver's side right now, so basically what I've got so far is a backing plate, and I'm using one of the existing bolt holes that was for the old mount to bolt this Hasport transmission mount to it. So I got this plate cut out that's bolted to the front of the transmission here, and I just traced and I'm about to cut out the little piece I'm going to bend to hug the other side of this mount, and then I'll probably box the back side for rigidity. And again, this is all rough draft stuff. We're not using 1/8 inch plate. We're going to be using 3/8 plate, so twice as thick essentially. And then you can see here I'm going to have to space this out. So we just don't have all the stuff we need today equipment wise, but we're just going to try and tack some rough drafts together, and then hopefully tomorrow finalize the rough drafts, and then we can take those to take them to the bank, and hopefully it's working. It's hard to do this one-handed. Overbent, but I'll straighten it. We made pretty good progress to the first day. So his bracket is looking a little bit more symmetrical than mine, because I just realized after I was looking at it from the other side of the car on my side that my bracket kind of sits slightly cocked like that, because I forgot that the transmission, because looking straight down it's hard to tell, but the transmission itself is leaned forward slightly, just the casing. So what I got to do essentially is just add either 2 small bends in that to kick it over and then back straight, or I got to space the bottom out. So he's bringing the spacers tomorrow, the rod for the spacers, I should say, so we can, do the spacers on the mounts. And I'm probably just going to space it out like that, because that'll be easier than trying to figure out the bends and redo this whole tall bracket. But in the meantime, rough draft is done. Tomorrow we will be able to actually freely hang the motor. It's going to be cool, and I'm excited. So we'll see you guys in the morning.
Sweet.
All right, so we're back, second day now. It is a little bit later start in the morning. I had to go get a bunch of material. I had to go get some hardware, all that stuff. So I still got to run out to the store really quick, go get a box of weld nuts, but that's 2 blocks away. I'm not worried about that, but I got bolts for the mounts themselves. I even went through this morning before I got here, or when I first got here, and made 2 little bends in my bracket, so that way it sits more flush, because at the end of yesterday it was sitting a little crooked because I couldn't really tell off the bat until it was, in the car. So today we're going to work on finalizing the set of mounts in here. We got 3/16 steel, big old thick heavy stuff here, so we're going to remake what we just did yesterday out of that copy trace. Should be pretty quick. And then today is the day that Corey is thinking he can knock out at least the templates and get the rear subframe knocked out, or at least tacked together, built up. So
yeah.
I don't know, you're going to have to kind of show me through your process, because it's really interesting.
Definitely, I will. What we're going to do is we're going to just copy this, make a little base plate to go into the frame itself, and then we'll build a tube basically to replicate this subframe, so a tube in the rear and a tube in the front. We'll brace it in between, and then we'll catch the rear motor mount, and then also the rear pickup for the, what did we come to the conclusion that was? That
trailing arm, or no, trailing arm is the front one, but like
toe arm.
Toe arm, yeah.
So that's the toe arm that we got to end up picking up, and then also it's I would say the lower control arm is what that would be considered, that tiny little guy down here.
Something like that.
Because that's the main arm for the main part of the knuckle, so we're going to call that the lower control arm and this the trailing arm, and so we have to make pickup points for both of those brackets.
Yeah.
That's the goal. But basically, goal today, build these plates and run the 2 tubes and make it look like we did something. I think it'll be solid.
Yeah, definitely really interesting seeing how other people do it, because again, his more specialty work is tube work. I just finished welding up the driver's side engine mount bracket, so we're looking pretty good. I'm not gonna dare touch that because it's burning. I'm gonna touch it anyway. Yeah, we're looking pretty darn cool. It's solid. I really hope it didn't pull too much when I welded it, so we'll see. I tigged it all up, so it's looking pretty darn nice, but you guys gotta see what Corey's doing. How's this thing looking?
Pretty tasty, bud.
Oh, hell yeah.
Pretty tasty. It's a little rough, but we're getting there.
Yeah, it looks so sick. So you can see this is the second tube that he has. He has 2 of these, and this is going to be the subframe. And like he was saying earlier, essentially, like you can see, it's going to sit in the car like that. And he's gonna, we're gonna attach the two, you know, make the rear mount somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, a good explanation right here. Kind of like that, and then we'll be able to mount the rear engine mount off of that, and then also the rear links for the toe, and then the lower control arm that we said that we came to a conclusion that we're calling it a lower control arm. So the lower control arm and the tow rod will be picked up from here.
So I know it's going to be a little bit hard to see here. Let me climb in here. And this side is all done. It's all bolted up. The only other thing I need to do is I should have got longer bolts. These are only 35 mil in length, so I probably should have got like a 40 or a 50. But then we also just need to make a spacer right here. So that'll be easy. Not even worried about that. That's just material we didn't have on hand today. That's looking pretty cool, right? So he's just going to transfer his mount to the thicker stuff. And the base of the subframe, like you guys just saw, it's all tacked up. So we're going to add some cross supports. Probably running out of time here for today though. But yeah, not a bad start to a first video. And for only a day and a half of work, we got the engine basically floating in here already. So I am so stoked.
Like setting a whole build series, but you're only gonna get like 2 videos out of it.
You're darn right. And then I was telling Corey, I'm gonna get a bunch of comments about like, oh, when you finish in the beat build, bro. And it's like, it ain't my car, guy. Like, car's not gonna be back for a long while until it's ready for turbo stuff.
It depends on what's his name again? That guy.
Sean?
Yeah, it depends on him. Yeah.
Oh yeah, whenever it just depends on the next guy to work on the car. Because after us, it goes to wiring, and then from wiring, I think it goes to body, and then from body, it may come back to me, or maybe it goes to wiring and then back to me, and then to body. I don't know. It's a process, yeah. But it's gonna be a minute. Corey had to take off. He had to go back to his other job, which is this evening. You know, dude's always just trying to make money like the rest of us. But he got the other side of the engine mount, the passenger side, all cut up and ready for me to assemble and weld. So right here, this is the part that's going to be welded to the frame rail. There's no way around it. There's no places to bolt to on that side, so we have to weld it. So you'll see there's 2 nuts here, and you'll see on the chassis itself, we hole sawed out 2 holes right there. So essentially these 2 nuts are just going to sit inside those holes recessed as our weld nuts. It's still hot, I just welded those nuts on anyway. But then we can bolt the top of the mount directly to it. So it'll sit like that. All right, so I got the tack welds laid in. Everything's looking pretty darn good. Time to lay the final welds on that bracket, and this thing is floating. Moment of truth. Let's put this thing up. Well, would you look at that? We got it done. We got it made. So you can see here's the first part of the rear subframe. So that's gonna have to pick up in the next video, which is not going to be until either this weekend or later next week, whenever Corey's available. And I got a few small jobs coming this week, and I got a turbo Mustang to keep working on anyway. But yeah, this thing is looking pretty darn sick. I am so relieved that that we came this far in a day and a half. It's 4:38 on a Tuesday, and we got an engine and a car. I'm stoked. Well, again, I'm very relieved. I'm super stoked and fortunate to have a buddy like Corey that has the shared knowledge and experience that I do, where he has his specialty on this side of the work and I have my specialty on this side of the work, because together it's making this job a breeze. And I just wish I had more people like that around me all the time. It makes life really fun and makes things go just so much more efficient. But I am just too stoked. Look at that. There is a Honda Beat with a new engine floating in the back. So obviously we're quite a ways from being done to where this thing's rolling on its own and the car can go off to the wiring guy and then the next guy and the next guy and then finally back to me for all the turbo stuff at one point. But yeah, it's awesome. But I am going to wrap this video up here. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this one. And I'm sorry that this won't be a whole build series of seeing this car from start to finish, but I'm just thankful that I get to share the bits of it that I get to with you guys. So if you did enjoy the video, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you have considered subscribing by now. And if you want to help support the channel, I have a P.O. box if you ever feel so inclined to send me anything. Check the description. I am also an affiliate for Vivid Racing, and if you don't know who they are, they're basically a wholesale parts distributor type thing for aftermarket stuff. So you can find anything and everything for just about any car on there. So go treat yourself to something, anything from an air freshener to a turbo kit, whatever you need. Use my affiliate link. That helps me. Yeah, boy. Anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. Do what you love. Forget about the rest. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.